news, ladies and gentlemen. The parts are in. Here we have a flywheel and a clutch kit. The flywheel is from Jags. The clutch kit's from Rock Auto. So thank you to them for not sponsoring me at all. These are full price. But if you guys do want to sponsor me, hit me up, you know. Anyway, today on Junkyard Days, we're going to get the clutch in this thing and then wait for the timing chain to get here tomorrow and see if it drives. Let's begin. Well, Jesse's home, so that's good. I'll have someone to help me here in a minute. So step one, today we're going to be putting on the flywheel. As you saw, all these threads are nice and clean so that I can get my proper torque values. You want to make sure that you have all your threads clean for that. You would also want to run a tap through any holes that you're going to be putting bolts in the engine usually, so that you can get, once again, your proper torque values without any intrusions from dirt or anything in your threads causing more friction. So once that's done, I'm going to put some thread locker on these threads, hoist that big old friggin' flywheel in there and bolt that sucker down to torque to factory spec with a torque wrench. That's very important. Also, you don't want some of this on there. That's also very important. If you recall, one time Roadkill's Rotson started making engine noise and they didn't know what it was halfway through or in the beginning of an episode, and it turned out to be that the flywheel bolts came loose. So make sure you get that right. Alright, let's crawl under there and slap that sucker up there. So I've gone ahead and sanded all the way around this to make sure I didn't have any rust impeding the fitment of the flywheel. We have our brand new flywheel here. I'm going to hoist this heavy bitch up in there and then bolt it on to torque. Alright, so once you get your flywheel in here, you don't want to spin it around until all your holes line up. There's only one way it's going to go on. For balance, there's only one pattern that aligns. Woo-hoo. That's why I put that bolt in there. There we go. So once you have your flywheel lined up, you can go ahead, take your thread locker, dab will do ya, one little bead on there, slap that sucker in. Happy day. Alright, everything went in nice and smooth. I didn't feel anything catching on any of the bolts, so I'm not worried about an improper torque reading. Now we're going to torque these down in a star pattern, which I will show you with just a normal ratchet here. So you start here, you come across, you jump mostly across, as close as you can get, then across again, just like a 6-lug wheel. Alright, now I'm going to find a way to hold that engine still, torque these down, and we will put a clutch on. Alright, so we got our new pressure plate here, throwout bearing, pilot bearings. Here's our new clutch. Somewhere around here, there's the alignment tool. First, we're going to take some brake clean and clean off this rust preventative. Same goes for the flywheel, so that when that clutch breaks in for the first time, it has a good non-slippery, non-oily mating surface, which is really what you want. And after this point, I'm going to avoid touching these surfaces with my hands as much as I can. So let's go ahead and do that. As you see, it just comes right off. Grab a mostly clean rag, give it the old shake and bake. Beautiful. I'm gonna hit this a couple more times off camera, get it really clean, and then we'll slap her in. So if you haven't seen it, Thunderhead 289 has an excellent video about installing clutches that I definitely suggest you reference if you have to ever install your own. I will link it up here somewhere. It should say flywheel and transmission side, but it doesn't. So we're just gonna give her a good send here. There's only one way this logically installs. Yep, it's that. Grab some bolts. Let me get this on here quick. I'm bringing you guys around for a better view. How about that? Okay, so here we are. New flywheel, new clutch, friction plate, new actual pressure plate assembly. She's just hung there right now. It's looking good, looking fancy. It looks all too shiny for this truck. This thing is beautiful and new, and it's sitting next to that. But that's what revivals are all about. New parts on shit. So like I said, if you want to see a really detailed video of how to do this properly, check out the link right there. Thunderhead 289's got an excellent video of installing one of these on a Ford. I kind of ran through it a little, but he goes much more in depth as usual, so check that out. I'm going to go ahead and bolt this up, torque it all down, and then we are going to be installing the bell housing, and then the gearbox, and bolting this sucker back onto where it goes, putting a timing chain in it, which should get here today, and driving this thing a little, just to make sure that clutch works. Time to do some heavy lifting. Come on, get up there. Up we go. So, if you ever work on an FE and it has this transmission, and you have the ability to, being that things aren't rusted together like my input shaft was into my clutch, and my clutch to everything, I would remove the transmission from the bell housing and then drop the bell housing. It seemed to be the easier route. Alright, that was exceedingly easy. That is the easiest bell housing I've ever put on. It went on right away. That's crazy. Okay, so our next step here to getting this transmission on is cleaning up where the throwout bearing sat, because as you can see, it's nasty. That thing's not going to slide anywhere unless I get all this rust off, maybe even put a drop or two of grease on there just to get things moving. I'm going to clean out these splines the best I can as well. We got a good transmission here still. There's reverse, first, second, third. So yeah, good transmission. I'm going to go ahead and clean up this shaft. Hit it with a wire brush first, so she's all nice and shiny. Then we're going to put our new throwout bearing on there, make sure everything's happy, and put this heavy bastard back in the truck. Well, excuse the annoying fridge here, but as you can see, that's all cleaned up. This even had a little bit of grease on it, and we got plenty of slippage. Oh, that's probably explicit. We've got good things going on here, so we can go ahead and slap that fork in there, hook her up. So next step, get that sucker in the truck. This is gonna suck. Well, I didn't just spend a year working out in Iraq for nothing. Let's do this shit the old school way. How? Okay. Yep. Oil everywhere. Okay. Make sure that shaft's clean. Input shaft's good. Here we go. This is a slippery bitch. It's okay, just dumped oil all over myself. No biggie. Ah. Bolt. Get in there. Yeah. Whew. That is how you do it, ladies. The hardest part of that was the lack of clearance the entire time, despite the oil being dumped down my shirt, and just everything was awful, but it's in there. Oh yeah. Safety third. And 4. If you ever wonder why, Kevin, you dress like a homeless slob, it's because of that. That right there. Okay. Hard part's done. Hard part's done. God, I hope that was recording. Here's what I'm gonna do. Okay, so I'm gonna throw this in here, tighten on this U-joint. I'm gonna put the speedometer gear back in. I guess I could do that right now. Get the appropriate wrench, tighten that up. Then we're gonna put our base cover on the bottom of the transmission and put a starter in it, and we are done under the truck for now. Alright, so here's where we are. We have got the Z-bar hooked up, the spring in there. We've got zip ties where necessary, as you can see. The other bar is also hooked up to their shift. Everything up here is happy. The starter is in. The bottom of the bell housing's on. Everyone's happy. Everyone's bolted up. Let's see if we have a clutch. Alright, let's test this thing. You remember before, our pedal was rock solid. Oh yeah, that's a clutch. Alright, my timing chain is finally here. We can replace that today. It took way too long. It came to Swaledale, Iowa at one point, and then they're like, I don't know what to do with this, so they sent it to St. Paul, and now it's back here. Ugh. Anyway, we're going to be changing out the timing noodle. I'll show you why I call it that here. Look at that. That's all of like 8 to 10 degrees of play. That is ridiculous. So I've got her lined up the best I can with all that play. As you can see, there's a dot there and a little notch there. I believe those would be our marks. So those are lined up. I'm going to go ahead and pop that off, line up the new one, and put this all back together. Watch now as I use total television magic to make this be clean. You know, the best thing about autofocus is no matter how many beers you have, everything's still in focus. Okay, so here's what we got going on. This is the old timing gear. Don't worry about this hole here, that was me. I did that. But if you look right here, see this? That is the only piece of nylon remaining on this gear. That should have been over that whole tooth and around the entire gear. It is all gone. So all of the space that that took up disappeared as soon as that fell off into the oil pan, and who knows where. It probably came out with an oil change, I would hope. So that's why that shit was so loose, and I was confused why it wasn't a nylon gear. It was a nylon gear. It's just all gone, every piece. And this thing is just shot. So, coming back over here, as you can see, the timing cover is on. I put the harmonic balancer back on. Whoop. And I have the #1 piston all the way up to top dead center. Rotor's pointing at 1, and I've gone and taken a file and filed in a sizable mark here so that I finally have a true top dead center, and I know how to time this thing. So next thing we're going to do is put on that water pump, dress up the front of the engine, put the carburetor back on, flare that one fitting, put that back together, see if I have a radiator sitting out back, fill this thing up and get it running. For tech tips here, when you put these bolts in, put put gasket sealer on them, because they go into the water jacket right in here. I can feel the back of the bolt hole. Nice and moist. So put RTV on those and they will not leak. Alrighty, I am back from the junkyard. It's been about 2 days. Had some other stuff I had to take care of. The Winky Penis thing still needs a radiator, which is what this is. Yep, I did not find one. I have that one out in the shed. I tried to fit it, it was the right size, but these plates need to be over here. So when this mounted, it mounted right there. I need it up here. So that ain't gonna work. So we put ye old found in the woods zip tie radiator back in. She's all tightened down there, snugged up. The bottom hose is on. The fan still clears. Perfectly swell. So, we're back to this. If you remember from the original videos, we have a tube stuffed in a tube from the old tube and electrical tape. But a trick for you, if you don't have a hose clamp that fits, a lot of you probably already know this, take 2 hose clamps and put them together, and then they will fit. The first time in who knows how many years that this thing is getting gas. Alright, put about 3 gallons in there. I don't see any gas leaks, so that's good. Alright, we got our old tank here we're gonna use to get it going, and we'll switch over to the actual line. Alright, we're ready to rock. We're gonna fire this up 3 or 4 times. First will be make sure everything runs and works fine. The second will be ignition timing. The third will be tuning. The fourth will be to get the fuel from the tank running. So let's get this show on the road. Make sure it's in neutral. Crank it. Doesn't sound good. Doesn't sound good at all. Alright, starter. What's your damn issue? I must say this is pretty peculiar. This worked perfect when I took it out. You guys watched it drive that truck out of the woods. But now that I put it back in, it won't spin. It kicks the Bendix out, but it won't spin. So I don't know what the hell's going on. I guess we gotta go get a new starter. It finally did bite the dust. Damn you. I told everyone you were so good, and then you shit on me. Why? Why have you done this? Alright, so we got a new beast of a starter here. Thing weighs like 20 pounds. These things are freaking ridiculous. But the old one burned out on me. I don't know why. 93% sure everything's supposed to match up, and that starter just happened to take a shit on me right then. We're gonna slap this in quick and find out. There he goes. Still won't run without a choke. Still won't run without a choke. So this still runs like ass, but we're going to get it fired up, and it's now hooked up to its own tank. So I'm going to see if it can pull fuel from the fuel tank, and we're probably gonna drive it after that, and we'll leave the rest for when Luke gets here. And I might do brakes before then, but let's go ahead and fire it up. Let's see if it can pull fuel from its own tank in the first time in 27 years. fuel coming up here, but there's a hole in the line. So I'm gonna chop off about an inch of line, move that up. Okay. That's a little enough of a fuel leak that I'm okay with it. Let's see if this thing drives. Alright, so this will be our first attempt in driving this truck with the true clutch and all the gears in 27 years. Let's go ahead and fire this thing up, pull it out. Once again, going through the damn window. Okay, I lost all forward gears. Let's see what's going on. I did have the axle out to do the brakes. Oh! Okay. Whoops. That's gonna do it for this episode of Junkyard Digs. I'll see you guys next time. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'm gonna bring a jack down here, fix this. I didn't put any of the axle nuts on. That's what it was. Yeah, I didn't put the retainer nut on. Huh. This makes way more sense now. I'll see you guys next time, Junkyard Digs. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow the gang. Dylan McCool, Classic Mustangs 429, and Thunderhead 289. Peace. Right, so this thing freaking kicked my ass today. But it ran, it drove. I just put the axle retaining nut on, drove it all the way down here, and it's gonna sit here for a couple days. Sorry, I gotta keep moving. These mosquitoes are freaking horrible. Oh my god. So, right, we're just gonna get the out of here. Oh god, they're bad. I'm gonna take a quick break on this truck. I will be back to it after the weekend. We're gonna switch gears to something else we got going on. I don't know if I want to tell you what yet. I'm sure by now, maybe you've seen it on Instagram, seen it on the social medias. If not, find me on Instagram, Junkyard Digs, Junkyard_Digs, sorry. And I'm on Facebook too, Junkyard Digs. Holy But, right, the other project, if these oh, Jesus, get out of my ear. There's the other project. Fuck, I'm going inside. See ya.